election. And ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is our stellar panel of guests. We're now joined by R. Jagannathan, who's a senior journalist, and of course, Rasheed Kidwai, visiting fellow Observer Research Foundation and political commentator. Thank you very much, Mr. Kidwai and Mr. Jagannathan, for joining us to discuss the implications of these two elections that are currently underway. Let me come to you, Mr. Kidwai, first. If khichdi ever had a meaning, this is it. It's been an extremely messy election, way too many faces, way too many candidates, and in fact, those candidates itself are cutting others as well. So what's really happening on the ground? Give us a sense of which party really has the momentum, or is it an election that's too close to call, like we saw in the United States election just a couple of days back?
See, apparently on the face of it, it looks very sort of complicated, complex, khichdi as you were describing. But in the real, scheme of things, it's basically two pre-poll alliances are there, and voter would be able to pick and choose. There, of course, there are two political parties, that Congress and BJP, who are a main contender, ideologically driven parties, and that is where I think the Vidarbha region or outcome of Vidarbha region is going to be very important, because what is going to happen, that one of the NCP and one of the Shiv Sena are going to emerge electorally. People are going to either opt for Uddhav Thackeray or Eknath Shinde-led Shiv Sena, and similarly either they're going to go by Ajit, give majority of seats to Ajit Pawar-led NCP or Sharad Pawar-led NCP. So that is going to determine the outcome of Maharashtra elections. The implications are very high, not so much, not only confined to Maharashtra, but in national politics. Because if MVA fails to form a government in Maharashtra, that would effectively mark an end of India alliance. Remember, Aam Aadmi Party and Mamata Banerjee have already distanced themselves from the India alliance. So once, if Shiv Sena goes away and NCP fails to make its point, then, the India alliance will not be there in that sense. So and similarly for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the stakes are very high, because if Uddhav Thackeray manages to come back as Chief Minister, remember his father, his party's legacy has been based on Hindutva, a different Hindutva from the BJP. So the India alliance plus Uddhav Thackeray would offer an alternative in national politics that Mr. Modi may find problematic for 2019, 2029 and beyond. So therefore, Maharashtra election is not confined to Maharashtra alone. It will have a deep impact on the longevity or hiccups of Narendra Modi government.
Right. I would want to come to Mr. Jagannathan. I was looking before coming to here, what are the promises which are made by the parties? So there are few common factors. One is targeting women. One is loan waiver. Do you think the issues particularly of loan waiver is going to strike the chord with the voters?
The voter is used to be given freebies before every election. And this has been a long-term practice now. It is very difficult to reverse, no matter what the PM may say about Revdi culture and all that. His own party has now embraced it as an essential part of any electioneering, which means that you can have an appeal of Hindutva or development or infrastructure, but some kind of way of putting money in the pockets of people, whether it is farmers through a loan waiver where they don't have to repay a loan, or in the hands of women because you want to give them some money, or some subsidy somewhere in the form of free gas cylinders and things like that. I think it is now winning the voter has become a very complex exercise, and freebies alone will not win, but freebies along with many other things tend to win. So this is the first real test where there is an arithmetic driven alliance, and both the sides are offering a lot of freebies. Some, if the Mahayuti says we'll give 2,100 to Larki Bahin, then the other MVA says we'll offer 3,000. So, of course, the 1,500 is already in the bag. They want to raise it to 2,100. So my thing is, this time we'll see what is the combination of offers and promises that really works. But of course, I'll come to another issue later, because in this question, we're talking about whether all these policies will work. We will know that only on 23rd. But what is happening is there are two alliances, no doubt, but within each alliances, there is a core alliance and there is a loose a partner hanging around. In the Mahayuti, the Sena and the BJP are the core alliance, and Ajit Pawar's NCP is the one dangling on the outer edge. And in the case of the Mahavikas Aghadi, it is the Congress and NCP is the core alliance, and Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena UBT is the one that is. So the non-core part of the alliance is their performance is what we need to watch, because after the election results are out, these two factions will play a large role, especially if the core alliance does not come anywhere near a majority. So they will need the third party and they will extract a high price. So the real elections might well
Absolutely,
begin
sir.
well after the results are out.
Absolutely, sir. And very, very valid point made on how this election is going to shape up the politics of coalition politics in the country. Definitely, it's going to have a bearing, is the point that Mr. Kidwai was also mentioning. And gentlemen, we also have Naniwadekar, the associate editor of Sakal, also joining in. Ma'am, help us understand. I mean, when we talk about inflation, that's been a constant worry over these past 2-3 months. And in fact, it's become all the more prominent, especially if you look at the figures of October are concerned. But that didn't seem like really an election issue in Haryana, which perhaps was won on the back of caste arithmetic, BJP consolidating the anti-Jat votes and of course consolidating the backward caste. What do you think is happening this time in Maharashtra? We've seen different kinds of issues being thrown around. Of course, the gentlemen were also speaking about freebies and how political parties are looking at attracting voters via freebies. But where are voters standing on this entire issue of caste arithmetic? Which of these parties has a lead so far as consolidating castes is concerned in Maharashtra particularly?
Actually, historically, Maratha is the predominant political caste in Maharashtra. Marathas were offered so many reservations. They were looked after by every political party. And basically, all the rulers of Maharashtra, they belong to the Maratha community. But that trickle-down theory never worked. So Fadnavis, during his tenure of 2014, he initiated Maratha reservations on large scale. The message could not go down to the caste, and the Jarange factor and the agitations, everything started in Maharashtra. Now, just to do away with this Maratha polarization, OBCs are polarizing in quite a big way. Where there is Maratha candidate, the OBC candidate is gaining momentum. As of now, I think the OBCs, they are trying to be wooed by BJP and Congress as well. Previously, 10 days back, BJP was playing OBC card very well. Now Congress has entered the OBC domain. Congress state president Nana Patole is a OBC, he is a Kunbi, and he is trying to grab some of the share of OBC vote. So in a very difficult scenario of Maharashtra, caste is playing as well as dharma is playing. I feel the organizations which belong to the right wing, they are doing work to great extent, and that can be a push of some 3% or 2%. Everything depends on how much is the voting percentage today. Maharashtra is divided into urban and rural. In urban areas, BJP and Shinde, they will do very well. And in rural areas where the soybean is becoming a crisis, where cotton is a coming crisis, Congress can do well. Maharashtra is quite fabricated on various lines. And as you asked me, caste is one of the major dominant dividing factors in Maharashtra right now.
You mentioned about caste, you mentioned about dharma. But one more factor which is important in Maharashtra, who will stay with whom? Last time, if of course voters remember, whatever were the symbols is one party now and another party is with different symbols. My question is to you, Mr. Kidwai. This time, if the same scenario happens, let's say with the Mahavikas Aghadi, where Uddhav Thackeray is not given the CM post, do you see that kind of chance once again in Maharashtra?
Yes, I think that's a very pertinent issue you have raised. I think the real elections will start after November 23rd. Verdict or trends are clear. What is going to happen is that about whether Uddhav Thackeray is being made chief minister or not. Remember, Uddhav Thackeray parted ways with their long-term ally BJP on the same issue, that of the post of chief minister. So therefore, I think that is non-negotiable. The Congress, from what I understand, is prepared at the national level. Rahul Gandhi, he wants to make all sacrifices to keep Uddhav Thackeray happy. But it all depends upon numbers, because the three political parties, it depends. One in that MBA alliance, if they are successful, they will be a kind of single largest party, then second largest party, and third largest party. So there are going to be a lot of bargaining and action, and time is on short supply. The BJP, on the other hand, is counting, because they are fighting on 149 assembly seats, so they are quite sure that they will be a single largest party, and they'll try to win over. Whether they can reach to Uddhav Thackeray and offer a post of chief minister at this point of time, it looks highly unlikely and far-fetched. But they have to do something, and there also, Eknath Shinde wants to come back as chief minister, whereas Devendra Fadnavis would want to become chief minister. Ajit Pawar, who's been deputy chief minister in all three, previous governments since 2019, would want to become, a kind of chief minister, and that's where there is a very interesting thing vis-a-vis the two factions of NCP. 37 seats, only one faction or other NCP is contesting. So if Chacha Bhatija come together post-elections, then you will have a situation of 40-45 MLAs as a block, trying to use that as a leverage. So I think elections are not going to end on 23rd evening. It's going to start in terms of who forms the government.
Mathematics was a weak subject of anyone. I think Maharashtra political permutation and combination is going to be very, very tough, because anybody can go with anyone. As Mr. Jagannathan was talking about, there are few loose ends. I want to understand on that part once again, Mr. Jagannathan, what do you see the scenario changing after this voting is done?
See, one thing is a lot depends on how much the BJP is able to retain from its 149 seats that is contested. If it reaches at least 100, I think it will be in a position to grab MLAs from other parties apart from Shinde Sena, and which will also have this thing. So the key thing is it must win 2 out of every 3 seats it contests. The question is whether it can actually do so, because last time was a different scenario because it was with Shiv Sena. This time it is with one half of Shiv Sena and one half of, or one third of the NCP. So how those vote transfers takes place will determine whether the BJP will end up with something like 95 to 105 seats, or far lower than that, because the Congress NCP manages to combine. So, and this time there are also 2 other smaller jokers in the pack which we need to see. We don't know whom they will impact the most. So we have the VBA of Prakash Ambedkar, who is trying to do a Kashiram here, where I think he wants to take away significant votes from a lot of people and ensure the defeat of some candidates, so that next time they have to pay him heed to his demands. The other side, you also have Raj Thackeray, who is trying to make a significant bid for the cross state vote, so that he has, say, if he gets 3, 4, 5% of the overall state vote, that will impact somebody. Whom it will impact, whether it will impact Shinde Sena or Sena UBT or what, we do not know. So I think these 2 factors, VBA and also Raj Thakeray's MNS, will have some, they may not win many seats, but they are certainly going to impact the elections in some way. So as we all agree, I think, all our panelists, that the real contest begins after 23rd, when we know how many seats anybody has actually won. And if the BJP turns out to be the biggest party, which is more than likely, because they usually end up with 25 to 26% of the vote, that is, say, good enough to give them about 90
Right,
to
sir.
95 seats. We don't know who else will get how much.
Right, sir. And I think there was this discussion just a short while back wherein Ms. Mrinalini was mentioning that, caste equations and how that is shaping up in Maharashtra seems to be favoring the BJP as of now. Of course, there are a couple of hours to go before voting closes in the state. But let me come to you, Ms. Mrinalini, on this issue of post-poll alliances. As my colleague Ankur was also mentioning, we don't know who's going to jump where. But if indeed the BJP comes back to power, do you see Devendra Fadnavis taking up the top job? And where is BJP on that issue of, who gets to be the chief minister of the state? Because the BJP also has to counter and balance the NCP side of things as well.
If BJP is able to reach 100 plus marks, which seems difficult because it is, as Mr. Jagannathan had said, it is winning every 2 seats of 3 they are contesting. But if at all they are able to reach 100, Devendra Fadnavis will be the clear winner. And nobody will be able to stop Devendra Fadnavis' next stint as chief minister. But as it is, Maharashtra is divided on caste lines. So I don't know whether BJP will be happy to have a Brahmin chief minister at the helm of the affairs. But at the same time, the vision he has displayed about development of Maharashtra and development of MMR region, so denying him a stand, if at all they reach 100%, that will create some ripples. He doesn't have many friends in party in Maharashtra, but at the same time, he enjoys tremendous support in middle class and upper middle class community, which are the core voters of BJP. I will like to add, there are not just 2 jokers, there are 2-3 extra state players in the elections of Maharashtra. Manoj Jarange, who is agitating for Maratha reservation, he has lent support to many of the candidates in place in a tacit way. And
you're making fair point, but I want to draw attention to few of the statements which has been made. And lately, Devendra Fadnavis has said that there is no meeting which has happened between him and Uddhav Thackeray. While there are speculations of permutation and combination, somebody going with someone, the clear statements are coming from one side, while on the other hand, if I look at MVA, the lines are little blurrer. What is your take, Mr. Jagannathan and Mr. Kidwai, if you can answer this in a very short manner?
So if you're asking me, unless Rasheed wants to go ahead. So I would say that the BJP will open lines to the UBT if it falls short. And I think it will, whether it meets Uddhav or not, I think they will find that. See, if you say batenge to katenge, na? So ultimately, batenge happened on the Shiv Sena side, right? So if they want to close that Batenge business, then you have to actually ultimately reach out to the other part of the Shiv Sena and work out a deal with him. Whether Uddhav will get chief ministership is a different issue. But I think if they fall short, they will try to see how they can get some parts, at least the many MLAs, if not Uddhav himself. So that part can probably happen. That's what I believe.
All right, sir, very well put actually. But let me also ask you about, the politics of the Vidarbh region. Of course, it's a very crucial and pertinent region, particularly called as the soya and cotton belt as well. And reportedly, voters have been upset over, the tod-fod politics that really is not acceptable. But can you tell us, when you look at all of these areas like Marathwada, Vidarbh, etc., which way is the electorate headed, and what's the kind of a dent that you see the electorate of these regions make a dent in the vote shares of BJP's side and the Congress side of parties?
You're asking me?
Rasheed sir, yes sir.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, here I think Vidarbh is a very important, part, because remember in Lok Sabha elections, the Congress did much better than the BJP. In fact, it was a kind of surprise element, and that is where the BJP has to cover a lot of grounds. All those sort of, Hindu-Muslim narrative, batenge to katenge, etc. has been done with that in mind, so that polarize the polity, because the economic situation, also the agrarian crisis are there, and there's been a government led by Shiv Sena and BJP. So therefore they have very little to offer, and that is where I think the Congress plank, which is a leaf from what was happened in Chhattisgarh in 2018, offering a kind of 7,000 rupees for soybean growers and all, is finding some kind of traction. So therefore, if that clicks, the problem in Maharashtra is that there is no single issue. So there are economic issues of not only unemployment, inflation, but about agrarian crisis, which are there. So there are just too many issues. The BJP, and it's all totally divided on caste lines as well. There are over 450 caste, subcaste when we talk about OBC. So it's very difficult to keep them united. So it's a very complicated kind of and a very challenging situation for the BJP, particularly in Vidarbha region.
Right. One more question I wanted to ask on Maharashtra elections, but before that, there is also voting which is underway in Jharkhand, and where it is a mines-rich state, but developmental issues are there. I want to understand from Mr. Jagannathan, which are the issues do you think are resonating with the voters in Jharkhand particularly?
I think the two issues, one, the loss of demography for the tribals over the last few years is actually impacting them. And so in a sense, the JMM and other tribal parties' base is actually shrinking because the non-tribal part of the population is growing. So the BJP is trying to cash in on that. Whether it will actually have an impact on the ground or not, I don't know. But from the looks of it, I think the the issues edge seems to be with the NDA BJP. So that is what I think is happening there. So it is in tribal areas, there is always going to be a problem because tribal populations everywhere, even though in numbers they are increasing, but in Jharkhand there seems to be a little shrinkage because of the incursion of a lot of people from outside the state, even from outside things. So that is what the BJP is trying to do. We will see whether it works. And among the non-tribals, of course, the BJP has good alliances and it can actually do a fairly good job there. It is what happens among the tribals that will determine exactly how the election. By and large, I think the NDA has an edge this time.
What's coming up next?
Which I want to understand from all of you, and let's take a quick round. Whether or not the lines, the symbols which has been given last time, are there going to be new symbols? Are there going to be defections? Just answer in yes or no, all of you, one by one.
So, sorry, I think, yeah. Please ask by turn, otherwise we will not be sure.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jagannathan, you can start. Yes or no, and a short reply.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think, I think people are going to cross party lines, both before they have done before, now they'll do after also. So all that is not going to make a difference.
Political awareness is very high, so therefore new or old symbols are inconsequential largely.
Mrinalini ji?
I say that there are just two certain things about Maharashtra results. BJP won't join hands with Congress. And the second thing is Congress won't join hands with BJP. Everything under the sun is possible. Shinde is said to be funding UBT aspirants, and everything is taking shape behind the scene. So there can be a lot of defections. Maharashtra has seen very ugly part of defections in last 5 years. That will continue.
Let me Right, ma'am, and definitely that's one combination that we're not going to see after June 23rd. But one final question before we wrap up this edition of the election special that we're doing today, and this is basically on Jharkhand. I mean, of course, you were speaking about how the tribal issues are coming up, how the infiltration issue is coming up in a big way. In fact, we also saw that ad being taken out by the BJP, and of course, there was a lot of furor against that. But do you think when it comes to Hemant Soren, the kind of cases that have been slapped against him, and in fact his jail term as well, is that going to get him sympathy votes? I mean, you have infiltration as a big issue, which you said is going to favor the BJP, but what about a sympathy or a perceived sympathy wave for JMM?
I think the
Mr.
sympathy
Kidwai.
part is over because he came out of jail long time ago.
Okay. Go on. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
You're telling me?
Mr. Jagannathan, carry on.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
So the thing is, like, see, sympathy happens when it's fresh in people's mind. But Hemant Soren was released quite some time back, even before the Lok Sabha elections. And after that, he came back as chief minister. He removed his uncle from the chief minister, who's now joined the BJP. So there might be as much sympathy for the person he replaced. So I think the whole sympathy factor is now overblown. It's not going to make any difference. So it's only the other issues, tribals, economic issues, infiltration, all those things are what are going to carry the day. And I think right now, I think the BJP NDA is in the driver's seat.
Thank you, Mr. Jagannathan, and thank you, Mrinalini ji and Mr. Kidwai, for all those thoughts.